What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Novichenko Whips YouTube channel. This is Ilya here. I wanted to preface this tuning video with interesting context. So I was helping James try and tune his 2006 Impreza with a hybrid build with a turbo. The Impreza, of course, initially came as a NA 2.5. And then James explained to me that the I stood for some variable, timing or valve in there in the head, in the single overhead cam head. Anyway, I've heard of people turboing the NA cars. I've rarely encountered people reusing the NA ECU. And so in this video, we're trying to tune James's 2006 Impreza ECU, which does not have any boost control in it, but it does have fueling and timing, and then of course you can MAF scale and things like that. And so what we're seeing is the car drives pretty good in closed loop when it's reading off all the sensors, but when you start getting into boost, the car leans out. And I'll show you here in the maps. I'm kind of deep diving it, where we keep adding fuel and the requested fuel is very rich. It's a mixture of like 10.6, you know, and it would get to the point where like it would run rich in closed loop because of how much fuel we were requesting from the STI pinks. But as soon as it flips into open loop and you're getting into boost, the car would just lean out. It would, instead of getting, you know, slightly richer, it would just start, you know, spiking 15 AFR, 16, 17 up to 18, and then of course I tell them to pull out of the throttle because you don't want to drive like that. The timing is very conservative on this map, like on these cars. I think in general the timing was very low, so you know it's not knocking per se, and it's not pulling back in that regard. If anybody knows, please do comment. This will help us figure out what's going on. I'm out of ideas at this point because we tried so many things. We tried a new boost reference or vacuum reference for the fuel pressure regulator. Pulling off the reference line, you do see the gauge move. So, you know, in vacuum, it gives less fuel. When there's no vacuum, you're tuned at about 43 or 44 PSI of fuel. And then of course, when you hit boost, it's supposed to increase the fuel pressure linearly or whatever and give you more fuel as you're getting into boost. And so we even tried MAF scaling, and so I would make the MAF scaling graph spike up, and it would just again cause a more rich running condition in closed loop, and then as we spit out into open loop, it would start leaning out. So it's a tough one. I think it's best to start out with the ECU that probably supports boost and turboing. That usually would mean, right, changing your harness and getting the correct ECU. But I think in this case, because James was reusing his NA heads, you don't have the dual overhead cam, so your probably cam sensors won't read correctly, and so that would throw issues on the turbo ECU. But I presume you could delete those codes from the tune with open source software and get around it. I'll walk you through the map, and so calling out to all tuners out there, if you can help me or help us, would be much appreciated. At this point, I almost think it's either the way the ECU is calculating load. We did change out the MAP sensor. James had a 4-bar. It would not even read boost correctly. What it looked like his boost gauge would show 12 pounds. The reading on the logger would show 2 pounds. So I gave him a regular STI 3-bar. We changed all the MAP scaling numbers in the tune. It started reading the correct boost pressures in the logger. So the ECU is seeing correct boost pressures. The ECU is requesting a rich fuel mixture. The mixture is going lean. So thanks for tuning in. Cool car, cool build. It's automatic. You know, James drives in a lot of stop and go traffic, but kind of stumped on this one. So let's see where it goes.
It's got a 257 with 253 heads.
Cool. So we've got here, what year car is this?
It's 06.
06, and it was just an Impreza. And then I think that what the difficulty with the tuning is, pretty much trying to use the NAECU to compensate. And so there's no boost control on the NAECU. You're kind of just, you have a set spring pressure. And what was the boost you've been hitting?
So I put a boost controller in it.
Okay.
So before it was 10 pounds, just wastegate regulated, and now I can hit 13, but that's when I'm...
Getting a lot of breakup?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you pop the hood
Yeah.
so we can check it out? I'm sure that's where all the fun stuff is. It looks pretty clean overall, except for, you know, the winter weather.
Winter and scratches and stuff.
Yeah. I've never seen a intake manifold like that. Is it a specific brand?
No, this is a stock NA one.
Okay.
NA long runner, and
And so it usually just has a, is it flipped?
it's flipped.
Yes, because they usually have it going that way.
Mm.
We kind of talked a while ago. That's why it's refreshing my memory. Did you have it tuned prior, or you like?
So the original motor I tuned, and
Mm-hmm.
it lasted for quite a while. It was never super exciting.
Okay.
At 10 pounds, but I had I submarined this at one time because my intake goes down to the
All the way down? Oh, okay.
fog light.
I
So
can
I went
actually
through a
see
deep
it in there. That's
I went
awesome.
through a deep puddle and sucked in a ton of water, actually.
That is the furthest down I've seen an intake go.
Yeah.
Because most people just go in the fender. That's where I had it on my STI.
Yeah.
It makes a difference
It really
with the temps.
It seemed like it did for sure.
So are you still on MAF, or are you now on speed density?
I'd like to be on speed density, but I don't.
Okay.
I haven't put a patch through. For
I
doing
see the
that.
MAF still here. Did you have to fab this yourself and
Yes.
kind of dent that in?
Yeah.
It would be interesting, because I know like this is all probably around 3-inch, but then that kind of affects
It's,
some flow.
2 3/4.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that pipe is, yeah.
What injectors?
The STI Pinks 565s.
So yeah, I mean at like that 10-13 psi, you're not pushing them too hard. It's more. I remember you mentioned that this map sensor is a 3-bar.
4-bar.
4-bar.
It's an Omni 4-bar.
So I know the STIs come with a 3-bar. I've never maxed out a 3-bar, at least with just these type of mods.
So when I was looking for a map sensor, it was the only thing I could get super quick.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to get her going.
I presumed some of the issues were around the map sensor, because I've never installed a new one, but I know you do have to change the scaling. And if you pulled numbers of scaling online, they should make sense.
It came with a card.
Okay.
And I put those numbers in, and it was really close.
Mm-hmm.
But I always pull a code, and it's map correlation, where they're disagreeing.
Sure.
The two of them.
Sure.
So I'm assuming I'm still off on the MAF scaling.
Okay. That's not crazy difficult to do with tooling. How does it act when you get into boost? Do you have a wide band?
I do have a wide band.
What's your AFR like?
When we had it tuned a while back and we threw a bunch of fuel at it, it was boogieing, and then it was just fouling plugs.
Too rich?
Yeah. So we swapped it back and pulled a bunch of fuel out of it. And now it kind of breaks up once you start getting into boost.
Okay. And you were just messing with the fuel tables for enriching it, or was it a combination of?
So yeah, you'd sent me over. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
You'd sent me over a couple of maps. We tried them, and remember we had it as this is an automatic car too.
Okay. Yeah, the automatics are rough as well.
I commute to Seattle constantly, so this was originally just a commuter car.
It's interesting how they load up. I've done some Foresters, a couple Foresters, and yeah, it's interesting how the boost comes on and where it decides to shift or not shift.
Yeah.
Cool.
So.
Well, it'll be better for us to actually drive and me get a feel. Then maybe I'll be able to do better.
Yeah. It has a hard time once it gets warmed up sitting in traffic. It's like
starts hovering.
Yeah, it seems like the RPMs are too low. Maybe
we can bump it up.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think just off the top of my head. Sometimes cars, when they warm up, the MAF readings change. So it's better to tune to the warm.
Yep.
setting, because it's cold, it might be drawing a little more air,
Well,
whatever, more dense.
So since it's a 257 block, it's got lower compression
Okay.
originally. So I don't know if it's like struggling to idle because of that.
Sure, okay. And what size turbo?
It's TDO5 16G.
16s do pretty good. And then, so your manual boost controller, you're just hooked up in here. How do you control it? Do you have just a dial?
No, that's it's AFE exact boost, I think is what it is. So it's the gauge, and it has
You have a setting.
settings.
Okay.
Yeah. So you
Interesting.
can keep it closed or open it up. You know.
You just have the 2 wires off of it, right? And so that's how you control your wastegate. That's so cool. I've never seen anything like this. Cool. Let me grab my laptop and we'll go for a quick spin.
Sounds good.
I'm interested, when you popped in this engine, did you research whether a change of wiring harness and ECU was worthwhile? Did you scour some forums?
Yeah, and these are still the single cam heads, so nothing changed as far as wiring goes.
Okay.
If I'd run dual cam heads, then I would have to do a whole wiring change in ECU.
Right.
And I've seen people with good results do this setup. And they said they're torquey.
So this is still a single cam head, so like the NA
heads.
NA heads. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Which head gasket did you use? Metal off of the turboed models?
I went with the 5-star head gasket for the 257.
Okay.
And everything matched right up.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Because I know that the NA cars blow head gaskets because of like the material that's known to be used in there.
Which way you go normally?
We can go left. Probably should be pretty free up there. It is interesting that your global health monitor is at a 0.7. I presume it's supposed to be at the highest rating at a 1. So we'll see if like it doesn't like the timing or if you're getting knock. Yeah, I think at the moment, at least this sensor is showing that it's lean.
Really?
Yeah, a little bit lean.
Well, in boost.
In boost.
Yeah.
Just leaning out. So the center one is boost. The left one is air fuel.
Yeah.
And the right is pressure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And the shitty LEDs are out on the top of my wideband, of course.
I presume it runs okay in this closed loop.
Yeah.
And then it's once you hit the open loop, more than 20-30% throttle, where it acts up.
Yeah. And definitely, like I say, idling in traffic is the worst.
Okay. With the fuel pressure, did you calibrate that like with no vacuum to make sure it's at that 43 point
Yes.
whatever? Okay.
Yeah, because I thought about bumping that a little bit.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, that it just goes lean. Like right now, it's pretty good. It's around that 13 when you're on medium throttle. That's expected. So yeah, here's again the same code popped. I cleared it, but you didn't restart the car. It's fine. But I think this code is definitely telling us something's up with the map. But yeah, we'll grab the numbers from a STI 3-bar and maybe pop one in there and see if it fixes it. That would be a nice, easy fix. Is this screwdriver long enough for you? We're going to try to replace the 4-bar Omni map sensor with a factory 3-bar and see if it likes it better. Is there any kind of sensor on here that is like a barometric sensor or barometric pressure? Because I know on the newer cars, it's usually plugged into the secondary air pump valve. And so if you delete that, you have to keep the sensor Have you removed any other sensors?
No.
Okay.
No, as far as I figured, it was pulling all that from. Well, I guess because you can see relative. Well, it says relative to C.
Okay.
I don't know how it's comparing it.
Interesting. If you try to get on it a little bit again, I'll just keep an eye on it and see what your actual O2 reads or the wideband reads. Yeah, kind of. No, I'd get out of it. It goes lean. I think it's very likely the map sensor. I might have a spare hanging out on like a manifold. I wonder if I can grab, what if we like throw a UE here and head back? What if we grab a spare and then I'll just copy map sensor numbers from like a stock STI tune? What if that helps? Because that's the only thing that comes to mind to me.
Yeah, and with these Omnis, I've seen that people have had issues with them before. And then I talked to the tuner at Drive Auto Sports.
Okay.
And he's like, "Oh no, Omnis are great." You know what I mean? And I'm like, "Well, I keep having issues." You know? And I was gonna take it to them, but there's no cats on this, so they were like,
Yeah, they won't touch it.
They won't touch it.
Yeah, I get that a lot. People are like, I wish I could go to my last tuner, but I can't.
Well, the shitty part.
For the record, we've installed a factory STI map sensor, and now we're trying to figure out our fueling. Leaning out a little bit still once we hit boost. We've changed a couple reference vacuum lines from the fuel pressure regulator to the manifold. Let's see if that helps. If you get on it a little bit now, let's see what happens. Let's see. Still in its warm-up mode, but let's see. It should kick out of it here soon. Nope, it's still leaning out. Sad. I'm stumped. We've tried multiple things now. Unless there's a way to just run less boost and maybe try to run like the minimum amount of boost you can and figure things out that way and then work up from there.
Do you think the boost curve have anything to do with it? Like it's just too, like
no, it's not coming on too aggressively. It's like a normal,
yeah.
like it's a normal curve. Like it's not spiky. We would feel it. We would feel it kind of. You would experience it in your seat. It feels plenty smooth for a kind of like what it's giving us, 11-12 psi spring.
Yeah. I have my wastegate set to crack right at 13 instead of like progressively open.
Okay. Okay guys, this is the day after. James drove home on our latest tune revision with the new map sensor, and he recorded quite a nice long log for us. So I'm grabbing the latest fueling. So you can see we scaled up the load at the top a little bit. I can continue to scale this probably to a 3.0 or 3.5, considering that we're hitting 12, 13 pounds of boost in the car. So the car is... This load number is low, so the car should be richening up in the open loop, and then anything above a 2.7 is just going to use the same value. So you can see we're requesting 10.69. And then the MAF scaling, I've plugged that into the MAF scaling tool. We're going to run the software, hit go. So there's all the adjustments. Let's look at our chart. So here's, for example, the current and after. There's not a huge difference, but nevertheless, I'm going to use the new numbers. And then we're also going to see if James did any open loop or wide open throttle pulls to help us try and calculate the right side of the MAF scaling graph. So hit yes. Nope, unfortunately. So no, there were no wide open throttle pulls, but that's okay. Let's paste in some of the new numbers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this up a little bit, probably to at least a 3. And then I'm going to open an ECU flash. I have it open already. I have tunes over here from a 08 STI, 04 STI, 11 WRX, 2016 STI. I am going to look at the tip-in enrichment numbers on James's NA tune and compare it to these on the STI tunes, and then also probably look at any compensations around fueling. And if honestly, if nothing looks too different, I'm just gonna kind of, you know, rest my case that it's something mechanical, like the fuel is just not making it into the cylinder under boost, or not enough fuel. But I'll catch you in a minute. So for example, another question James had was about these fueling target compensation tables. And these are in closed loop. And so that's why you can see they only scale up to like a load of 1.2, because anything above that, you usually flip over to open loop. And then I'm looking at a STI similar graph. And so the numbers in terms of compensation are pretty similar. And then what I presume is this negative number is for enrichment, like enriching your air fuel mixture. It almost seemed like we were getting quite a bit of enrichment when we were driving around. So I'm not even sure we need this much, but it rests my case that something's up flipping over into open loop. Here, I'll copy this over and we'll move on to a couple other sets of tables to compare. Here's the only difference I'm seeing. I'm looking at tip-in enrichments. So throttle tip-in, very unanimous and similar numbers. The only tip-in enrichment compensation that I'm seeing that's a bit different is per RPM. So on the NA engine, I'm seeing a lot of these negative values, and they go down as you move up in the RPM band. On the STI, the tip-in enrichment per RPM is all zeroed out. So I'm going to zero this out. I don't know why that on the NA engine is has such high negative numbers, but you know, we're kind of now just focusing on fueling, and so that could be a key for us. I'm going to look at the rest of the tip-in enrichment maps. So there's one that has to do with compensation A, B, C, D. I'm going to open the ones for the STI and compare. Another interesting thing as we look at these compensations, A, B, C, D, on the top row, it's an interesting accumulation, like you go from 99% down to 6%, but on the STI map, that's all zeroed out. The other tables look similar until you hit tip-in enrichment. I believe this is a D. It's also zeroed out on the STI side. Also, the activation for percentage throttle change, it's 1% on STI and 8% on the NA. I think I'm gonna use the STI values, and we're gonna send this revision to James. And it would be awesome, like if this was the fix, that would be a good day. Here's also on the left James's MAF updated, and here's the STI MAF. I'm probably gonna grab the numbers from the STI MAF about 3 volts and above, and see if we can plot these in James's up to the 469. So from 3.01. Let's see how big the difference is. Okay, so it does move up. The MAF scaling, I'd say that's a good, 10-15%. Let's see if this helps us, right? So at this point, we are looking into everything that could be of help to us. I'm also going to bring the rest of the graph up to be less jaggedy. more linear, if we can call it that way. But I'm really banking on like these changes improving things quite a bit, and we'll ask for another log from James here today. Again, your comments and inputs, if you're knowledgeable about these, are definitely welcome. Don't get to do much NA turbo stuff.